So Harrison, you mentioned earlier that you have OCD and kind of how that has impacted yourself. So personally, and then obviously professionally going into film, can you speak to that of how you feel that's either helped or hindered, or what perceptions that may be, or anything you can speak to about neurodivergency?
Yeah. So it's difficult for me in terms of like a lot of films, and I think just in general, like people say OCD and it's like, oh, you know, they're really organised, especially in films, they do it all the time. Or like they have a detective who's, the reason he's so good is because he has OCD, he notices everything. It's like, that's not OCD. Obsessive compulsion disorder is one of the most horrific things. I've had it all my life, but I had it really bad in sixth form, to the point where I didn't seek help because I genuinely thought I was insane. And I got diagnosed in my first year of university, and I'm on sertraline for it, I'm treated for it, and it's the best thing I ever did. I actually had a chase up GP appointment recently just to kind of see how I'm doing after a few years on it, and I wouldn't change it. But it definitely helps. Like, I always try and see the positive in things, and OCD massively helps with character development. And sometimes I can laugh about it, because sometimes it is a bit funny of like I'll be doing a character and I'm like, oh, but then what if he has this? Or, oh, he has a dog. What is this? Is it named after someone? I'm like, oh, no, that's not important. Like, learn your lines. So it can be quite a funny quirk, I guess. And it's nice to be different, but yeah, I think one of the worst things about this industry is just using mental health as either this person's really sad because they have this, or this person's great at this because they have this mental health. And it's like, I think it's used in the wrong way. I think there could be a lot more positive uses of things like OCD and actually showing kind of how people deal with it. Like that latest Sebastian Stan film that he won the Golden Globe for. He's I can't remember the name of his co-star, but he's got like a severe deformity. Right. And he was saying in his speech how that has to change the industry. And that film's all about how people look at disabilities. But like, basically he has this disability, he has this like breakthrough surgery to get rid of his deformity. And then the guy who has the same deformity as him actually becomes really popular, and he kind of flips. It's like a whole thing on, you know, there's not really anything wrong with having deformities, but the way society sees it, it's like he wanted to, you know, get rid of it so he can be this like stereotypical good-looking man. And whereas it's all about the person on the inside. It's a brilliant take on disability and deformity, but I think we need something like that for mental health, because I think Joker was a great example of, because a lot of people in America, especially because of like mass shootings, they were told to go watch this film because it's kind of like how someone breaks. But I think education is important, because OCD isn't about being super neat and tidy. It can be, but it's really not. I have a form called pure OCD, which kind of, you suffer from all different kinds of intrusive thoughts. It's very much based about intrusive thoughts. And I think the way the film industry goes about it is very wrong, and I don't think they've quite got it right. I think there's a few films that do a lot better, but yeah, it kind of puts everyone back a step. And I think the reason why I kind of get heated about it is because a lot of people won't seek help if they don't know what it is. Like, I didn't know what OCD was. Like, when I was diagnosed, I was like, but I'm not a tidy, super clean person, and then I found out more about it. And I think a lot of people are living in hell silently because they don't know. Like, they see a film and it's like, that can't be me because he's super like neat and super tidy. I realised I had it through TikTok, funnily enough, during COVID. Scrolling through TikTok in bed, and came across a mental health doctor in America who was explaining what OCD was, and it kind of straight away I was like, that's what I have.
So from your, because you said it was really bad in college before you were diagnosed, and I think it's quite evidence that there is a lot of undiagnosed forms of ADHD or OCD or anything like that. So when you say it's really bad, what was your personal experience, and did you just think that was normal for like everyone kind of thing?
Well, it's hard because like looking back on my life in general, I can kind of like see what, like certain things, like, oh, that was OCD, right, that makes sense. But it just suddenly hit in sixth form. I don't know if it was because of just you reaching that point where you becoming a young adult, or what, but it just kind of hit me. So the first really big example where I was like, something isn't right, was 13 Reasons Why I think it was like season 3 or something came out, and I started watching it, and for some reason my head was just like, what if you did that? And then it's kind of like, the best way of describing it is you kind of have an internal argument with your head, and with OCD you kind of like, everyone gets intrusive thoughts. Like, a good example my therapist used years ago was, you might walk into a shop, you go to the chocolate aisle, and you might have an intrusive thought of, what if I just bought everything in this aisle? And then you kind of like, no, that would be stupid, like, why would I do that? That's an intrusive thought, but people with OCD they can't just dismiss it. Your brain has to know why you're having the intrusive thought. So like, if you have that thought, someone with OCD might be like, well, why do I want to do that? Am I not, like, why can't I do that? Am I not financially stable? And then you go on a loop. A lot of people, like with pure OCD, the big difference is I don't really have many physical compulsions. Like, I pull my hair a bit, that's about it. Whereas with pure OCD, it's more like you're just arguing in your own head. So it's a lot of kind of like, you'd be exhausted at the end of, like, after an hour of having bad intrusive thoughts, because you're just constantly fighting it in the background of everything else you're doing. But yeah, in sixth form that started, and I didn't want to seek help because I was like, well, I don't want to do that because I know I don't. Like, I'm arguing with myself, but then if I'm not going to waste the NHS's time by going and, saying I've had a thought of killing myself, but I really don't want to do it. I'm arguing with myself. Like, I was never suicidal, but then my brain switched on to, well, why don't you want to seek help? Are you sure you're not? It's like, and being, not having any idea what OCD was, it was like, well, I just didn't know what was wrong with me. And then there's different themes you can get that just range from, it's basically like when I first went to therapy, you address it as bully. Like, you literally say bully to remind yourself that it's just your OCD. So especially around OCD, it is like you're living with a bully in your head. And I'm a lot more educated on it now. Like, there was an amazing book about OCD, and it basically takes you through all the types, examples, and I gave my loved ones and family members a copy of it just to read, to kind of educate yourself. And I think if someone tells you they have OCD, don't do the thing of like, oh, like I once told someone I had OCD and they pushed a pencil slightly out the way and were like, oh, so that annoys you? And it's like, no, I've been through hell my entire life of this. But I think, like, sometimes it's not their fault. Like, I have people who've said, oh, I'm so OCD, it has to look like this. And that's because of social media and films and everything. So I think, bring it back, that's why it's so important that we research mental health and we put it in films, because there's a reason for it, and to help understand it, and not just, oh, this guy's a detective, what if he has OCD, so he noticed things are out of place? Like, yeah, like, there is advantages to OCD, of course. There's advantages to most, I'd say, mental health. There's some small advantage of it, but films just take that and they just blow it out the water, and they're like, right, it's a superpower, and it can be quite offensive, I think, sometimes, because it's like, well, it's not a superpower, I've been through hell of it, I've had horrible experiences, and then people look at that and be like, oh yeah, he's so good because he's got OCD and he's very neat, and it's just, sometimes it's just, You can tell it's a pet peeve of mine.
I can tell, and yeah, it's obviously you're having this battle internally in yourself. So when you do possibly reach out, they will only see the good sides, or maybe want to talk about that. So you talked about you didn't want to kind of waste NHS time. Was there an initial phase of kind of, did you just announce it to your friends and family first and say, I'm concerned about this, I'm thinking I maybe have this, or what was your first step? How would people reach out for help, basically?
That's a good question. There is a lot more on it now from when I was first diagnosed, even just in a few years, because I think a lot of like influencers and big celebrities actually have OCD, and I was very much not alone, but in terms of my family, because I didn't know, I knew something was wrong for years, and then when I saw that TikTok, I was like, right, I need to speak to a doctor, because the whole time my brain was kind of like, you'll go to prison, or they'll be like, well, you're just a psycho. But once I saw that TikTok, I was like, right, I'm doing it. I need something sorted. And my ex-girlfriend at the time, she was amazing. Got through it with her support, and all my friends at uni kind of understood. My family didn't really understand it for a while. Like, it's quite funny now when I look at it, because it'd just be like, well, just don't think about it. And it's like, cured. Like, but I think because they're from such a different time where mental health didn't even exist when they were kids. Like, it just wasn't talked about. Yeah. But the NHS are amazing as always. Ironically, most of my family were in the NHS at the time, and some of them still are. But they gave me things to give to loved ones to kind of explain it from the NHS as like a guide on how to, like, not deal with people with OCD, but learn about it so you can understand them, and that massively helped. But any intrusive thoughts, just speak to someone. There's always someone to listen to, and there's also, like, I think it's ocd.co.uk. It just explains what OCD is, and it has so much support on there. And there's just so many. YouTube, one of my things I used to always do was, like, reassurance is a big thing even now. And I used to always go on YouTube and just search OCD, and there's so many TED Talks and so many videos you can just get resources from. Yeah. And I think it's just important just to teach and educate everyone on mental health disorders, and it's just normal. Like, it's just part of living. It's the same as having, like, being born with one less finger. It's exactly the same. It's just your mental health.
Yeah.
Like, I was born like this. I didn't develop OCD. It was just always there. It just took a while to kind of know what it was, but it doesn't mean you're insane or like you're weird, anything like that. People, most of the world have mental health disorders. Like, it's fine to talk about them. Yeah. And I'm glad it was actually brought up on here, because there's just not, I think there's this whole thing of, like, act happy for the camera, like, this, talk about the great things in your life, but people sometimes need to talk about the horrible things in their life.
Yeah, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but there was a friend of mine who was group 1 category risk of suicidal tendencies, basically, and was put on a 6-month waiting list and by the NHS, and during that time he did take his own life, unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thanks, but it's a shame that they knew that he was the highest risk category, and mental health wasn't taken as seriously as physical health.
Yeah.
Whereas someone comes in with a broken arm or whatever it may be, rushed straight through to A&E, because it's more understandable, there's more research into it.
Yeah.
And people just get it straight away, I think. So I think it's exactly what you said. There needs to be raised awareness about, it's anything in life, you can't understand something until the information's presented.
Exactly.
It's understandable and digestible in that way. So I think it's a very, very powerful point you raised, and we'll definitely be putting resources in the description box for this one, and how you can reach out for help. But I think you've kind of summed it all up really, Harrison. But are there any closing points, or was it just to kind of reaffirm that, speak to people, everyone's kind of going through their own internal battles, and just that they all want to help? Is that possibly the message?
Yeah, 100%. Just if you feel like anything's wrong, just like you would with any of physical health, if you think something's wrong, speak to someone. Most GPs now have a mental health doctor who are very well trained, and there's so, even if you don't want to go to the doctors, just go on any talk groups. There's so many resources around mental health, and you can just get in contact, or even just, like I said, YouTube. Just, it really reassures that you're not alone. Like, something you might think is stupid is actually, like, it can be a mental health disorder. It's completely normal. Like, some people with OCD, I've done it in the past, but some people with OCD will go and check the door a million times. And then I remember I was really worried about it, went on YouTube, there was a stand-up comic who did the same thing, made a joke out of it, and people were laughing about it, because it's one of those things where you're like, you know, so many people can relate to it. It's like, you're not the only person, and everyone's there for you, kind of. There's a big community when you go on these resources. It's just really kind of hitting home. Just ask for help if you need it. Don't ever fight alone.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'd rather attend something rather than your funeral. Can't remember what the saying is.
It's almost same as the stitching time saves now, and it's kind of preventative. You don't want it to get to that point where it's beyond repair, and that happens a lot. Kind of people are so happy about something, and then it drops and drops and drops to a point of despair, where you just can't see anywhere. But you just got to keep kind of and talking, and
just check in with your friends as well.
Yeah.
Like, I always try to check in with people, especially in the close friend group. But even like people you haven't spoken to in a while, just check in, see how they're doing, because that message can go a long way.
Yeah.
It certainly has for me in the past, just getting a message out of the blue, asking how I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
just message your friends.
Perfect, brilliant. Well, I think that's a lovely one to close on again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.